welcome back to the Deep Dive. If you want a masterclass in cinematic versatility, you usually have to study, I don't know, several different directors across several decades.
Right, you're looking at a whole bunch of careers.
But sometimes, one career provides all the lessons you need.
Mm.
Today, we're undertaking a deep dive into Rob Reiner, the man who, frankly, didn't just succeed in Hollywood across multiple genres, he absolutely mastered it.
That's really the core mission today. We're taking this stack of sources, detailing his life and his directorial canon.
Right.
And we're trying to go beyond just like a list of his blockbuster hits. We want to understand the mechanics of his success.
How he did it.
Yeah. How does an iconic television actor, one of the most recognizable faces of 70s TV.
Absolutely. Meathead.
How does he transition not just into a director, but into this genre-hopping force? A director who maintained consistent quality, both critical and commercial, while shifting from pitch black satire to tender drama to romance.
And sometimes within a year or two. It's incredible.
It's unbelievable. We really want to uncover the connective tissue that allowed him to be so brilliant in so many different cinematic languages.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because you can't, I think, analyze the director without first understanding the foundation.
No.
That foundation that gave him his initial insight into, high-level performance and storytelling.
It all starts with, for lack of a better term, Hollywood DNA.
Right.
Rob Reiner was born in 1947 in the Bronx, and he grew up literally steeped in show business excellence. His father was Carl Reiner.
A comedy legend.
A towering figure in comedy history. A writer, a performer.
Yeah.
He worked with the likes of Sid Caesar on Your Show of shows.
Which was, at the time, the biggest thing in comedy.
The absolute peak. And then he went on to create the seminal sitcom, The Dick Van Dyke Show.
So, okay, Rob Reiner wasn't just around entertainment. He was watching the absolute architects of modern American comedy and television.
Every single day.
At the dinner table.
Exactly. Carl Reiner was renowned for his writing discipline, his incredible sense of timing, and just this ability to construct narratives that were both hilarious and deeply human. That exposure gave young Rob an immediate high-level education. What makes writing work, what makes a performance land, and what makes a story resonate. That foundational knowledge is just, it's so critical.
But the public, of course, first came to know him in the most famous way possible. In front of the camera.
Yes.
As Michael Meathead Stivic on Norman Lear's groundbreaking sitcom, All in the Family.
Which ran through pretty much the entire 1970s. And this wasn't just a hit show. It was a cultural phenomenon.
That was a lightning rod.
It was. And critically, for him, it was his second on-the-job apprenticeship. All in the Family challenged the limits of what you could do on television. It was so controversial because it tackled racism, sexism, the Vietnam War, generational gaps.
All head on, no sugarcoating.
None at all. And Reiner's character, the liberal intellectual son-in-law, was the direct high-stakes foil to Carol O'Connor's arch-conservative Archie Bunker.
That clash was the absolute engine of the show.
He's everything.
It put Reiner right at the center of the era's biggest political and social conversations.
It did, and he was fantastic at it. He won 2 Emmy Awards for the role. But here is the profound insight we get from the sources on his trajectory.
Yep.
While he was performing this huge, very visible role, Reiner was simultaneously studying. He wasn't just running lines.
He was watching.
He was watching Norman Lear, watching the showrunners manage tone, synthesize these really complex social issues into character-driven narrative.
Right, and direct this highly sensitive material.
Exactly. He was preparing for his inevitable pivot.
So that's the key takeaway for you, the learner here.
Yeah.
That early success was his classroom.
100%.
He was learning how to handle these huge personalities, manage rapid-fire dialogue, and, I think most importantly, understand the mechanisms of a story that can generate both enormous laughter and an immediate emotional insight.
Yes. So the transition to directing, therefore, it wasn't a gamble.
Not at all.
It was the inevitable realization of years of deliberate observation. That preparation is what allowed him to jump into the director's chair with a surprising yet immediate mastery that it defied the typical learning curve.
And that jump brings us immediately to one of the most astonishing directorial debuts in modern history.
It really is.
1984. The film is Is Spinal Tap.
Mm.
What a radical choice for an actor coming off a major sitcom to launch his directing career with an improvised deeply meta satire.
It was revolutionary. I mean, most actors who turn to directing, they stick to safe, character-driven dramas.
Sure, something they know.
Reiner chose a project that would literally define the mockumentary genre. He dove straight into experimental comedy.
And for anyone who might be unfamiliar with the setup, it follows this fictional British heavy metal band, Spinal Tap, on a profoundly ridiculous and disastrous American tour.
The premise is satire, but you're right, the execution is what makes it a lasting cultural artifact.
So what was the process?
Well, the sources confirm the genius was in the process. The structure was built around improvisation. Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, Harry Shearer, they created the characters and the dialogue largely in the moment.
Wow.
So Reiner's directorial challenge wasn't just to, film funny moments. It was to impose a narrative structure onto all that chaos.
So the audience believes they're watching a real documentary.
Exactly. And what makes it so brilliant is how he embraced the conventions of the very genre he was satirizing.
Right, the rock documentary.
Absolutely. The film is a satire of rock excess, yes, but more importantly, it's a razor-sharp satire of the banality of the rock documentary format itself.
Oh, that's a great point.
Reiner understood that real rockumentaries often have these long, boring interviews, mundane backstage arguments about catering.
And technical glitches.
Technical hiccups, yeah. So by committing to these tedious details, using jump cuts, poor lighting, shaky handheld camera work, they achieved this kind of fake authenticity.
That commitment to the bit was so total that, as our sources point out, some audiences genuinely missed no joke on the first viewing.
Oh, yeah?
They thought this was a real, deeply depressing documentary about a failing band.
That deadpan commitment is exactly why it works. And all the iconic cultural nuggets, they sprang from that sincerity.
You mean like the amps that go to 11?
The amplifiers that go to 11. It's such a simple, brilliant piece of physical comedy that speaks volumes about rock pretension.
Or the Stonehenge prop?
The ridiculously undersized Stonehenge stage prop built to the wrong scale that just descends onto the stage. It's so dumb and so perfect.
The drummers. The running gag about the drummers.
The endless parade of drummers who meet increasingly mysterious ends. Spontaneous human combustion.
Choking on vomit. Not his own, of course.
A bizarre gardening accident.
Yeah.
It's just relentless. But the analysis points out something crucial. Spinal Tap is funny because it's so specific, yet it never really mocks the characters themselves.
It's affectionate.
It is, and that's the core of the Reiner touch. That's the first crucial insight into his directing style. He understood that the best comedy comes from truth. The band members are buffoons, yes.
Total buffoons.
But they're lovable buffoons. They genuinely believe in their music. Their struggles feel real even when they're arguing over the shape of a new album cover.
So he applied the same deep-seated human affection he honed on All in the Family.
Exactly.
Where you kind of loved Archie Bunker, even when you hated his ideas.
You did.
He applied that to his directorial debut.
That ability to blend sharp satire with this deep, recognizable human affection was completely unexpected in a debut. It immediately established Reiner as a director who prioritized character over spectacle.
And it also showed his willingness to trust his collaborators, which seems to be another one of his hallmarks.
A huge one. I mean, handing the script and so much of the execution over to the improvisational talents of Guest, McKean, and Shearer, that requires immense confidence. But Reiner knew he could be the guiding hand, the editor, the structuralist that ensured all that chaos resulted in a coherent film.
Okay, so if Spinal Tap set him up as the master of meta-comedy, his very next project, just 2 years later in 1986, was an absolute thematic 180.
Complete 180.
He directed Stand By Me, an adaptation of Stephen King's novella The Body. This film is a profound, sensitive, coming-of-age story.
This is the moment, I think, that Reiner became undeniable as a master of range.
For sure.
He didn't just shift genres, he shifted his entire directorial approach. Stand By Me is this quintessential 1950s story about 4 young boys, Gordy, Chris, Teddy, and Vern, who set out to find the body of a missing child.
And the journey itself, it's really less about the destination.
Oh, much less.
And much more about the internal discoveries they make along the way.
Right. The film's thematic core explores friendship, loss, the fragility of innocence, and that painful, specific moment when childhood ends.
That moment you confront the reality of adult mortality and life's complexity for the first time.
Exactly that. And Reiner manages a tone that is steeped in nostalgia without ever becoming, overly sentimental or cloying.
Which is a very fine line to walk. How does he do it?
He achieves this through a few key techniques, but primarily the use of voiceover narration.
From the adult Gordy, Richard Dreyfuss.
Delivered by the adult Gordy, yeah.
Yeah.
And that voiceover acts as this constant filter of reflective melancholy. It establishes right from the beginning that this journey is being viewed through the lens of memory.
So it makes the youthful dialogue feel even more precious and fleeting.
Precisely. And the film is legendary for its raw, powerful performances, which really highlights Reiner's developing skill with young, untested actors.
We're talking about Will Wheaton, River Phoenix, Corey Feldman, and Jerry O'Connell. All became stars.
They did. And the sources detailing the production, they emphasize his technique. He didn't coddle them.
No.
No, he created an environment where they could just be boys. They were reportedly kept together off camera and allowed to bond to really build that chemistry.
So they brought that genuine camaraderie and rivalry directly into the performances.
Yes. And the result was acting that critics at the time described as utterly authentic. And that requires a director to surrender some control and just guide. Trust the inherent chemistry of your cast.
It's interesting how he applies his early apprenticeship lessons here. On All in the Family, the power came from the character conflicts.
Right.
Here, the power comes from the trust and the shared vulnerability between these characters.
The expert connection is indeed clear. In just 2 films, Reiner proved he could elicit profound human emotion, whether he was dealing with comedic chaos or high drama.
And Stephen King loved it, right?
Stephen King himself said that Stand By Me was the best adaptation of his work he had ever seen. He said it captured the essence of the novella, which went far beyond the simple plot of finding a body.
Wow. Okay, so just when you think you've pegged Reiner's style, either as the sharp satirist or the tender nostalgist,
Right, you think you've got him figured out.
he performs the most extraordinary pivot of his career the very next year, 1987, The Princess Bride.
The output in that 4-year span is frankly unbelievable.
It is.
After an improvised comedy and a dark drama, he delivered a film that masterfully blends, well, everything. Romantic comedy, action, swashbuckling adventure, pure fairy tale.
And at the same time, a loving, self-aware parody of all of those genres.
Yes. Based on William Goldman's celebrated novel and screenplay, it has it all. The true love story of Buttercup and Wesley, pirates, fencing, giants, revenge.
And the infamous ROUS.
Rodents of unusual size, can't forget them. But what makes it work, and what Reiner understood immediately, was that Goldman's novel provided this perfect dual structure.
The grandfather reading the story.
Exactly. The film is essentially a grandfather, played by Peter Falk, reading a story to his skeptical, ill grandson, played by Fred Savage. That framing device is the genius mechanism Reiner used to manage the tone.
Okay, break that down. How does the frame device help the tonal balance?
Well, it gives Reiner permission to be completely ridiculous when needed, and then profoundly sincere when required. So when the action gets too fantastical or maybe a little too scary, the grandson can interrupt.
Is this a kissing book?
Right. And that provides a moment of meta-commentary. It diffuses the tension before it gets too silly or even too dramatic. And that is the key to Reiner's achievement here.
So the film is funny without being cheap.
Romantic without being sappy.
And exciting without ever demanding that the audience take the giant rats seriously.
Exactly. And this film, maybe more than any other he's made, has generated genuine cultural vocabulary. I mean, it is quoted incessantly.
Oh, constantly. The cultural impact is colossal. Lines like, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die."
Instantly recognizable.
And as you wish.
As you wish, which really means I love you. I mean, these are lines that are recognizable even by people who haven't seen the film.
Right.
And it wasn't a huge box office smash initially. It was a modest success that built its audience slowly.
That's interesting.
It demonstrates that Reiner's films often possess this lasting quality that transcends immediate commercial performance. It grew into one of the most beloved films of all time, proof of his ability to blend heart, humor, and spectacle flawlessly.
So the key takeaway here for you, the listener, is that Reiner uses his versatility not just to change genres, but to deliberately challenge the audience's expectations of his own capabilities.
Yes, exactly.
All while retaining that core of human truth, whether it's in a satire, a drama, or a fantasy.
He's proving he's a director of tone, not a director of style. He adapts his technique to the material, which is the mark of a great adapter.
That phenomenal run of genre-defining hits continues right into the end of the decade in the early 90s, where he takes on 2 absolute gold standards.
He's not slowing down.
Not at all. He takes on the romantic comedy and the psychological thriller. So let's start with 1989, When Harry Met Sally.
After demonstrating he could command huge fantasy dramas and tight ensemble comedies, Reiner proved his ultimate skill lay in maximizing the power of the script.
Which brings him to Nora Ephron.
Which brings him directly to his collaboration with the undisputed master of witty dialogue, Nora Ephron.
The premise is so simple, yet so profound. It stars Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan, and it tracks their relationship over 12 years, wrestling with that core conflict.
A big one.
Can men and women truly be just friends, or does sex always get in the way?
Ephron's screenplay is just brilliant. It's witty, it's philosophical, and it's structured around these fantastic interludes of older couples sharing their how we met stories.
Oh, I love those parts.
They're amazing, right? And they anchor the fiction in this sense of relatable, documented history. But Reiner's direction is what elevates it from a great script into a cinematic gold standard.
So how does he achieve that elevation? What does he bring to it?
He creates an intimate conversational atmosphere. He uses this classic New York aesthetic, focusing on warm autumn tones, lighting that makes the dialogue feel cozy, almost safe. The camera just lingers on the actors, allowing them to deliver Ephron's rapid-fire dialogue without interruption. It doesn't feel like a movie so much as, like, you're privileged to be eavesdropping on real people, having extremely smart, relatable, and sometimes painfully awkward conversations about love.
And then there's the scene that is the definition of cinematic immortality.
The fake orgasm scene.
In Katz's Delicatessen.
A masterclass in staging and comic execution. The brilliance lies in the fact that it's staged in a crowded, noisy public space.
Right in the middle of lunch.
Right. Juxtaposing Meg Ryan's private theatrical performance with the mundane reality of getting a pastrami on rye. It's provocative, it's incredibly funny, and it's punchline.
Delivered by a master.
Delivered by Estelle Reiner, Rob's own mother, who is just visiting the set.
I'll have what she's having.
She just delivers that immortal line, "I'll have what she's having," and it validates the performance and cements the scene's place in history.
The film fundamentally redefined the romantic comedy. It proved the genre could be smart, sophisticated, emotionally complex. It's a template that is still copied today.
It validated the rom-com as a vehicle for serious, insightful exploration of human connection. The success showed Reiner's ability to take exceptional writing and just elevate it through pitch-perfect casting and direction that was totally attuned to the rhythm of the spoken word.
And then the true test of versatility.
If he hadn't proven it already.
In 1990, the year immediately following the gold standard of romantic comedy, Reiner took an absolutely sharp turn into a dark, violent, psychological thriller.
Misery.
Based again on Stephen King.
The contrast could not be starker. If When Harry Met Sally was about expansive, witty connection, Misery is about claustrophobic dread and total isolation.
Right.
The plot centers on romance novelist Paul Sheldon, played by James K. Mann, who is rescued after a car accident by his #1 fan, Annie Wilkes.
Kathy Bates.
Kathy Bates. And the rescue quickly spirals into a nightmare as Annie, a former nurse with some severe psychological issues, holds him prisoner and forces him to rewrite his latest novel to her specifications.
So this film required Reiner to basically discard the open conversational style of his previous work and adopt the language of horror and tension. So how did his technique shift?
Well, Reiner creates a deeply suffocating atmosphere. Unlike the warm tones of New York, Misery uses harsh, natural lighting. It emphasizes the cold isolation of Annie's remote Colorado farmhouse.
And the camera work feels different.
Crucially, yes, the camera is often locked down, or it moves very slowly. He relies heavily on extreme close-ups of Kathy Bates's unpredictable face, trapping the audience inside Paul's perspective.
So the tension is derived almost entirely from the relationship between two people in one room. It's not special effects or monsters.
Correct. He uses negative space and silence to enhance the dread. Annie is often just outside the frame, or the sound design emphasizes the simple, terrifying creak of a door or the rattle of a chain. The tension is unrelenting because Paul is completely helpless.
And he's constantly having to negotiate his immediate survival with this terrifying, yet, you're right, strangely pathetic captor.
Exactly. And that captor, Annie Wilkes, provided Kathy Bates with an Academy Award-winning performance.
An iconic performance.
Bates is just phenomenal. As the source notes, her performance is both terrifying and pathetic. Annie is monstrous, but Reiner allows us these glimpses into her profound, twisted loneliness, which grounds her psychosis in something tragically human.
So beneath the jump scares, there's a dark commentary about obsessive fandom.
Absolutely. The fan who feels they own the creator and the creation, a theme that's even more relevant in today's media landscape.
And we can't discuss Misery without mentioning the infamous hobbling scene.
Oof. That scene is a testament to Reiner's commitment to making the violence matter. It's the climax of the body horror elements, where Annie breaks Paul's ankles with a sledgehammer to prevent his escape.
Too brutal.
And Reiner films it with this visceral, almost unwatchable brutality. He uses sound design, the horrific crunch, and the scream to make the audience feel the physical pain without wallowing in gore. It's a genuinely frightening moment that grounds the psychological torture in brutal reality.
So Misery proved definitively that Reiner could master any genre he touched, no matter how dark.
No question.
After proving himself in comedy, fantasy, drama, romance, and horror, he needed one more major genre to complete his early career directorial run.
The high-stakes legal drama.
That came in the early 1990s with A Few Good Men.
And this is a crucial film because it further emphasizes Reiner's skill as an adapter of great writing, this time from playwright Aaron Sorkin.
Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson, huge stars.
Huge. And the film deals with the trial of 2 Marines accused of murder following an incident at Guantanamo Bay. It's all about military justice, honor, and the nature of duty.
Directing Sorkin is a unique challenge, right? Because the script relies entirely on that rapid-fire stylized dialogue. The action is verbal, not physical.
Totally. The challenge for Reiner was to take what was inherently a stage play, a series of intense verbal confrontations, and open it up for the cinema without losing that theatrical intensity.
And how did he do that?
Pacing and precision. He uses constant movement even when the characters are indoors, making the legal maneuvering feel like a constant high-stakes battle. The camera work is often very dynamic, tracking alongside characters as they deliver these long, complicated monologues, which maintains energy despite the lack of typical action sequences.
And of course, the climax of that verbal battle is the famous courtroom confrontation.
Cinematic lightning in a bottle. Jack Nicholson's performance as Colonel Jessup is just masterful, culminating in the line that has entered the cinematic pantheon, defining courtroom drama for decades.
You can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth. Reiner directs that scene perfectly. He allows the tension to build so slowly, letting you feel the shift in power between Cruise's young, cocky lawyer and Nicholson's entrenched, arrogant authority figure.
That period, from 1984's Spinal Tap to 1992's A Few Good Men, is arguably one of the most remarkable, sustained runs of quality, genre-hopping filmmaking by any single director.
I can't think of a better one.
He directed 6 genre masterpieces in less than a decade.
It's a claim very few can match. He took on the mockumentary, the coming-of-age film, the fairy tale, the rom-com, the psychological thriller, and the legal drama, and in every single instance, he created a genre template or a defining film.
Okay, let's move past this explosive early run and look at his later works, his legacy, and his lasting impact. Because even after achieving such blockbuster success, Reiner continued to direct, often returning to themes of innocence and complex human dynamics.
That brings us to 2010 and the film Flipped.
A much smaller film.
A smaller, more intimate project, but it explicitly felt like a thematic callback to the gentle touch and emotional sensitivity he showed in Stand By Me.
Flipped is based on Wendelin Van Dranen's novel, set in the early 1960s, and it focuses on the story of 2 young neighbors, Bryce and Julie, from the time they meet through their early teens. The central narrative conceit is particularly clever.
It relies on a dual narrative structure, which is a key technical aspect for Reiner to tackle. The audience sees the same events, the same childhood interactions, first from Bryce's perspective.
And then immediately from Julie's perspective.
Right, and this highlights the subjective nature of first love and growing up. It shows how 2 people can experience the exact same moment with wildly different emotional interpretations.
It's a fantastic device for exploring miscommunication and the confusion of adolescence.
It is. Bryce might perceive an action as a positive gesture, while Julie sees it as a crushing rejection. Reiner manages these perspective shifts deftly, giving each character's inner life equal weight. This film really showcases his enduring gift for capturing the intensity and, sometimes the cruelty of early emotion.
And that gentle touch he used in Stand By Me is definitely apparent here. He captures the intensity of first attraction, the awkwardness of early rejection.
And how those small moments, like the fate of a sycamore tree or a messy backyard, can shape who we become.
Right.
And while Flipped wasn't a major box office hit, the expert perspective confirms that it gained a huge following through streaming and word of mouth.
A second life.
A total second life. And this long tail demonstrates a recurring pattern in Reiner's filmography. His movies often have an enduring life and connect deeply with audiences long after their initial theatrical run. They become beloved touchstones for new generations.
Okay, so now that we've synthesized his career journey, let's pull back and identify those three major pillars that really define the Reiner legacy. The first and most obvious one is his extraordinary versatility.
This is truly his defining characteristic as a director. Very few filmmakers have successfully worked across such a wide, distinct spectrum. But the crucial observation is that he doesn't impose a single stylistic signature.
What do you mean by that?
When he directs a mockumentary, it looks, feels, and sounds like a mockumentary. When he directs a high-tension thriller, it uses claustrophobic framing. He adopts the appropriate cinematic language for the story, retaining only his underlying intelligence and emotional honesty as the through line.
So the film serves the story, not the director's ego.
Perfectly said.
Mm.
The second pillar, which connects his work from Stand By Me right through to Misery and When Harry Met Sally, is his undeniable gift for working with actors. Reiner consistently drew out natural, unaffected performances. He launched the careers of young actors like River Phoenix and guided established stars to their absolute peak.
Like Kathy Bates' Oscar win.
And Kathy Bates' Oscar win, Jack Nicholson's iconic delivery, he just has a unique talent for creating an environment of trust where, whether the performers are kids, comedy veterans, or dramatic stars, they are empowered to do their very best work.
And that consistency across every single genre he tackled is a testament to his collaborative nature.
It is. And finally, the third pillar, his unrivaled cultural impact.
The stickiness of his films.
It's the sheer density of Reiner films that have become embedded in our shared cultural language. They aren't just popular, they are referenced, quoted constantly, and watched generation after generation.
So a filmography that includes Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, and A Few Good Men.
To have all of those deeply rooted in the collective memory is incredibly rare. It is this longevity and pervasive influence that is the ultimate measure of his cinematic success.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, why did he achieve this longevity? What makes these films stick beyond just their genre mechanics?
I think they stick because Reiner's films are fundamentally about something universal. They explore fundamental human themes: friendship, love, loyalty, creativity, the painful process of growing up. They have heart. His movies matter to people not just as enjoyable viewings, but as genuine emotional touchstones that often perfectly encapsulate a certain feeling or stage of your life.
And it's important to note that the social consciousness he learned on All in the Family didn't just vanish when he became a director.
That's a key part of his broader off-screen legacy. He learned from Norman Lear how entertainment can intersect with public service and activism. Reiner has been a prominent voice advocating for social causes.
Like the American Foundation for Equal Rights.
Exactly, which he co-founded. It shows his enduring commitment to social progress, a commitment that really mirrors the argumentative yet ultimately loving spirit he embodied as Meathead 50 years ago.
What a profound journey. From being the liberal student arguing with Archie Bunker, taking lessons from the greats like his legendary father Carl Reiner and Norman Lear, and becoming a master filmmaker who constructed this body of work defined by consistent quality and profound humanity across the widest possible spectrum of cinema.
His career is a textbook example that great filmmaking is not about sticking to one niche or one style. It's about being a master adapter, understanding human nature, and crucially, crafting every single scene, whether it's a terrifying hobbling scene, a romantic conversation in New York, or a pirate sword fight with care and deep intentional purpose.
His films remind us why we go to the movies in the first place.
They really do. To experience stories that stay with us, actively shaping our collective memory long after the credits have rolled.
He created experiences that became part of our collective cultural DNA. That power is the magic.
And that raises an important question for you, the listener, to consider. Reiner created multiple films that are still quoted, revered, and analyzed 40 years later. In today's world of fragmented media, where content cycles are instant and attention is currency, how long can one artist, even a master like Rob Reiner, continue to create new works that achieve that level of deep cultural stickiness and true multi-generational longevity? The ability to craft a movie that transcends its moment is a rare talent, and Reiner's greatest legacy is proving it can be done over and over again.